we're in a very crossroads time where celebrityism is changing. And that's why people are talking about wanting to watch smaller creators because they're not interested in seeing unrelatable stuff.
I think that's what a lot of creators now who are getting started don't put priority on, is valuing the people that are already watching you and that are already a fan.
Hi, Julie.
Hello.
How are you today?
Wonderful.
Good. There was a hesitation, but I
How
believe
are
you're
you?
wonderful. Doing great. Today is a beautiful day in the city, so I have the windows open and we're going to hear motorcycles, fire engines, and all sorts of fun city noises during this episode. But I'm ready for it. How about you?
Yay. I'm ready for it.
How was the week?
It was good. I've recovered from my blood taking experience.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
And gonna write a bit about it. So that's wonderful. Been working on the comedy. I booked another comedy show for December 6th. If you're in LA.
It's great.
At the Comedy Chateau, which is like another bigger-ish club.
Oh, wow.
And now,
is it going to be recorded? It's going to be recorded?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay, good. Otherwise, I have to get on a plane.
I know. And now I'm trying to figure out booking shows in New York, but I'm having a little bit of imposter syndrome and feeling like not good enough. So that's what's going on.
All right. We need to help you get over that because you've already performed at some big clubs. And as I say, when you reach out to these people, that should be the leading line.
I know.
It should be the lead. I've performed at the Comedy Store. I've performed at the Hollywood Improv. That's cred. That's receipts. And so you have them. So I don't know why you're feeling this way, but I understand because even at my age, I feel it in certain ways as well. So I understand it, but it's also, you've got to push through.
And I also feel like I'm comfortable with like the LA comedy scene. So maybe it's just because I don't really know the New York comedy scene as well, that I'm feeling insecure about it, that I feel like a fraud, but it's fine. We're getting through it.
You're going to get through it because everybody that I talk to that listens, and I know they're not just saying it because you're, my daughter, but they think you're funny. And I even was having coffee with someone who I haven't seen in a long time this morning. And I was playing some of the things of you imitating me. And she just like thinks you're hilarious already. And she hasn't even seen your comedy stuff. So,
okay.
All right. We're going to have to pump you up somehow. How are we pumping Julie up? I don't know. I'm going to give it some thought. No imposter syndrome.
How was your week?
Well, my week was good. Interesting kind of imposter syndrome, but I did go to that wedding and I wore that dress that was hanging over my head about like, am I going to wear the dress? And it was like a lot of drama leading up to it. Oh, well, so I did wear the dress and I felt secure in it, especially that day because I had the little jacket that I had worked out and I had the boots and then I felt comfortable. And an interesting thing that happened at the wedding, which I thought was funny, is so my high school friends were all there, a bunch of them. And one of the guys from high school who I'm very friendly with and listens to our podcast, hi, Mark. And he listens to it religiously. And he came over to me and he said, okay, so I have to ask you, is this the dress? He wanted to know if I was wearing the dress that I was having the stress about in the episode prior. And I was like, yes, this is the dress. And then one of the other girls came over and she said, Lynn, and she said, take the jacket off. It looks fantastic. And so she knew, like they knew what my drama was and they knew my insecurity about it. And I will say I pushed through and I felt good. And I didn't actually even feel self-conscious, which was great because I thought, if I wear this, I'm going to be thinking about it all night, that I don't look good in it and whatever. I felt really good and I felt confident and I'm so happy that I pushed through my insecurity. Are you proud of me?
Yay. I'm very proud.
It was a big deal.
You looked great.
Thank you. The other thing and this is like a soft plug, but we talked about Spanx briefly, at least me and you did privately. And I had bought Spanx for the dress because, you got to smooth out the lines. And I got the Spanx and I put these Spanx on and I was like, why do women do this to themselves? Like, this is torture, literally. So I'm like, no, I can't. And I remembered another brand I had ordered before, Commando, and they make like stockings and tights and hose and all sorts of things. And I said, let me go on there because I remember their hose were like smoothing hose, like the pantyhose type thing.
Mhm.
And so I went to the website and they had a body slip that was like a Spanx-ish sort of a thing. So it was a full body thing, and it just was almost like wearing one of those dresses I probably wore when I was younger to go into the club, like a little a little tight
Mhm.
dress. That's what it was. And when I put it on, it was comfortable, smoothing, amazing. I didn't feel restricted, but I felt smoothed out. So here's a free plug for Commando, the brand. If you don't know it, check it out, and maybe we should call them and get them to sponsor an episode. What do you think? Because that was not a
Worth
sponsored
a
plug, but
shot.
my God, you should try them. You would love this brand. Okay, so enough said. I had that to give me confidence underneath, and I felt good. And the wedding was so much fun, and it was great to be with my friends and celebrate. And of course, I posted a video about it, which I'll put in the show notes. I even
You
was
love writing the
confident.
show notes.
I do. I do like writing the show notes. I even loved that when I'm in an outfit that I feel good in, I feel happy to make a TikTok transition. And that's when my confidence kicks in, when I will be willing to do
Mhm.
an outfit change on camera. And I did. So that was a lot of fun. Woohoo.
Yay.
All right. So that's what happened this week. And then the next thing for me that I would like to talk about that happened this week will basically segue us into the topic. Not that it needs to, but it's going to. And it's this idea of the work that has been coming my way has because of my social media presence and not related to. So in other words, I'm not doing the TikTok shop. I'm not doing any sponsored branded content on my page to make money. But what's
Although you
happening,
should.
although I should soon, but because I'm not monetizing that way, what's happening to me is social media has become a very valuable currency for my persona. And I don't even want to throw age into it, but if you think about it, in production, it's a very young business and people are very young and up and coming directors. And you might think by this point in my age that I would be needing to segue my way out into something else in a mentorship way or something like that. But instead, what has happened to me because of social media, I am way more relevant and way more valuable to the clients. And the work is coming in a way that it never came before. So I want to talk about that as a subject today, and we can lead into whatever else you want to talk about it. What do you think?
Do it.
Okay, let's do it. Yay. So this idea that social media is a currency, I'm going to bring Tommy in because years and years ago, he one time said to me in Chatham in the kitchen, I remember it specifically, that can you imagine one day if stock, if instead of there being the stock market, there was like people stock. So people were valued like stock, like the stock market. And I was thinking, my God, he's got such an interesting brain that he actually thought about that. And I was like, that's kind of genius. And what happened is I think he was seeing it because social media was just starting to come out. But that
Mhm.
is almost what has happened in the world of social media,
Mhm.
where a lot of us are our relevance is based on our followings or the communities we've built. And so I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit as a former social media manager, and you're skilled in social media business. What do you think?
I definitely think like people's social media followings gives them credibility. And I mean, you don't have a following for nothing, especially when I was working at agencies. It's like we want to work with people who have a following for a reason, not just anybody. So it makes sense. And now going into stand-up comedy, I feel like it's even more interesting to see how other comedians are using social media, how that is affecting things, because
Mm.
I think right now a lot of comedians aren't using or utilizing social media in the best way. And I can understand it because they don't really want to put their material out on the internet for people to necessarily like steal or like take their ideas. So I understand like the hesitation, but I think where things are going, it's going to help my career if I get a jump start on social media and start posting about it and start using that as like a leverager of some sorts to say like I have 20,000 followers. I don't know. I've like my clips have gone viral. So I think it seems really superficial to people who don't really give a shit about social media,
Mm,
but you can't deny that it gives
no.
people opportunities where they wouldn't have. Like I saw a video yesterday, 2 days ago, where this girl, like no hate to her, she's like a big influencer, but she got broken up with and people were just sending her shit. Like someone paid her rent for a month in New York City. She got a million different PR packages, like saying like, so sorry about your breakup. And it just like, part of me was
Oh,
like kind of annoyed because I'm like, there is so much going on in the world that we're gonna give one singular influencer girl, we're gonna pay her rent for a month when she can clearly very well pay her rent. We're gonna give
right.
her all this free stuff when she's already getting a ton of free stuff. So
That is
I think
so interesting.
there's like good sides and bad sides to it for sure. Because it's
For
like,
sure.
come on, with that New York City
Yeah.
rent, you could like do something else.
Wow. With the right to better the world. But, and it's really this idea of this parasocial relationships of the people viewing these influencers who feel so connected to
Yeah.
these people they're watching that number one, they feel like they know them like family. And so
Hmm.
they're compelled to actually send them money, which is amazing
Yeah.
when you really think about it. That's just a whole,
And it's like props to them for building a community where people feel the need that they should like do that.
right.
But it
But
is
you can see both
interesting. It
sides
is
of that.
strange.
It is
But then you
strange.
can just see how it is a currency. And like, if she hasn't been posted, no way this would have happened if she gotten broken
Right.
up with.
Right. In
And it's
life,
like
right. You know, without the social
another
phone.
example. I don't know if you know Emma Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah.
Do
Hmm.
you know Emma
Hmm.
Chamberlain? Okay,
Yes, I do.
because she has a podcast, and I feel like she's been getting a lot of not hate, but like pointed critique about her podcast because she never went to college
Mm.
and she blew up from like being a teenager, being kind of like more of a fashion lifestyle creator. And now she has this podcast where she's like getting into like more, I don't know, like bigger existentially type questions. And people are like, it's so hard to listen to her because she like, not that everyone needs a college education or everyone needs to spend money
Mm.
on that, but she doesn't have like the critical thinking skills and like
Interesting.
to like
Interesting.
make the
Right.
podcast interesting. And that also begs, and she also has all these opportunities. Like she's been on a reporter for like Vogue on like at the Met Gala and all these things where, if she didn't have this massive social media following, no one would care what she thought.
Right. In general, that's
Anyway.
happening. That's happening a lot. It's and the world of social media has almost become its own celebrity making thing where it's like, you have so much credibility here, but then in the rest of the world, you're not necessarily a celebrity. It's we're in a very crossroads time where
Hmm.
celebrityism is changing. And when there was
Hmm.
that period of time on TikTok where a lot of influencers or small creators were really poking fun at, like, oh, let's get the celebrities out of here. What do they think they're doing here? Kind of thing, because it's like they're trying to be relevant when they live a lifestyle that is not even within anyone else's reach. So why are you trying to come on here and be like you're one of us? You know what I mean? And
But now all
that
these
that
influencers
yeah,
are
it's the
doing the
same thing
same
with
thing.
it's the same thing with influencers, and that's why
And
people are talking about wanting to watch smaller creators because they're not interested in seeing
yes,
unrelatable stuff.
and I have a theory on this 'cause I've
Okay.
always had this cycle of following influencers or creators on social media where I follow them for a while. I really enjoy their content. And then there tends to be a shift where I'm like, their content seems really forced now. It seems really inauthentic. It's not the same thing. And I realized it's because when creators or influencers make the shift to make creating and influencing their full-time job, they now depend on it to make rent, to pay the bills, to like live their lifestyle. So there becomes this added pressure to make your content perform well. Where in the beginning you were just doing it as like a side fun thing, and
Yeah.
now it's like your main thing, and it's not as authentic because
Oh my gosh.
you
Because
know,
it can't be because you have
yeah,
this added
they're
pressure.
they're
This is
forcing themselves to make content all the time.
yeah, and they're trying to pretend to be the same as they were before, but they're
But they're
Not,
not. When you get like
they're not.
$10,000 PR packages and you get sent on vacations, your lifestyle does shift. And you see it when they move into these big fancy apartments that are $7,000 a month. It's like, well,
Right.
you used to live in a shitty little one bedroom apartment with
Mm,
roommates and make your videos. And now I can't relate to you because you live in a high rise that I probably could never afford.
wow. It's a very accurate description of what's happening. And it's so hits close to home for me because from the beginning of this, I have been worried about my content. Okay. Not wanting to change who I am on because who I am on social media is who I am in real life. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
consistently the same person, which I think is why I have the kind of following I have because I'm not pretending to be one thing on here and then I'm doing something else in real life. I'm pretty much an open book, especially when I went through everything with cancer. But when I think about, oh, if I had to start making promoted content, it does stress me out to think, oh no, but then people are going to be thinking I've sold out, or then my it's not going to be the same. Even if I'm teaching things, I'm going to feel the pressure to do that because now I have to sell a course, and I that's why this whole time I've felt there was a different path for me because I knew that I didn't want that. Maybe I had the foresight to what that would be. And I did one time post a video when I was on a Sensodyne shoot and I was with one of the dentists in the set. And we did a funny trend and we had the toothpaste and it was just funny, it wasn't like a paid piece of content. We just me on the shoot. And somebody came into my comments and goes, "Oh, I knew eventually you'd sell out." And I was like, "What? This is like me having fun at
Mm-hmm.
work. This isn't even a paid piece of content." And I was getting, and then I realized, that comment, even though like you can have thousands of positive comments, but you can have one comment that just kind of needles at you and stays with you. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a really defining thing because I thought, well, see, that's exactly what's going to happen if I start making promoted content. So it's always been in the back of my mind. And with that, though, I want to add another really important point I think about what my social media experience is. Because I am on there teaching and I'm showing people how to do things, and then I have my fun and I do my behind the scenes of this or my day in the life that or my family thing, or you do your funny comedy being me things and all the other content. Because I'm present and I'm visible, what's happening is I'm in people's feeds that I don't even realize. So there's former people I have worked with, former clients I have worked with from 15, 20 years ago that are seeing me very regularly now. And so when a project comes up for them and they're thinking, "Oh, who could we get to work on this project?" They remember me, production. "Oh, Helen, oh, she's a social media expert." And I'm getting work that I'm not even looking for. And it is amazing. And I think that it's a big miss on when people say, "Well, why do you want to be on social media? I don't need to sell anything, or I don't want to have a following because I'm not going to monetize, or I'm going to need millions of followers to make money from a platform." And I think what's so important to know that it's becomes a value. It becomes like my stock went up, really. It's like what Tommy said.
Mm-hmm.
My stock went up so well. And I am so relevant in an industry where I might have not been relevant at this point in my career.
It's, I think it's interesting you say that because people ask you all the time if you make money from social media, and you're like, no. But the answer is yes.
Yes, the answer is yes, of
Answer
course.
is a hard yes. You've made lots of money from social media because of all the opportunities you've gotten. And maybe you haven't made it necessarily by posting a sponsored post, but you have directly made money from being
Yeah.
active on social media.
Yes. And that is
So the answer is
so
yes.
the answer is yes, but it's like the problem is it's an indirect yes, because people are asking me, how can I make money on how can they think you get money from views or because you have a million followers, some magic coins are falling out of the sky or something like that. I remember thinking when I started on TikTok and you guys were like, "Oh, you're going to be TikTok famous," and it was like the family joke. And I kept thinking, well, if I have a million followers, I'm going to be rich. I literally thought that, because I remember that was the impression or the illusion of what it seems like when you see these people with all these huge followings. So it's been a very
Mhm.
interesting, real experience to go through it and see, oh, actually, no, unless I'm going to sell a course, which, by the way, did sell a course briefly and had a $15 course and sold 10,000, I think, courses of them, which, think about that's a good chunk of change. But in the long haul, I think it's more valuable for me to build a community than to sell a $15 course, because the community value will have more as the community grows versus, one batch of people who are willing to pay to learn something. I know that's probably going to be a controversial topic, and people would tell me otherwise, because they do all the time. You should sell a course. You should make I don't want to do it. So maybe I'll change my mind someday, but for now, I don't think that's my path. But I do like this idea that I'm on the top of mind of people, and the opportunities are very different that I'm getting. So I'm having a consulting opportunity where I'm going to be consulting on a regular basis to advise a business about how they should promote their items on social media, and have that. That's an opportunity. I'm directing TikToks for another director on the shoots. That came from being TikTok present. We've done some consulting things for clients together where we've talked to businesses about how to run their social media department and how to deal with social media. So there's things that have come from it, and shoots that have come up because I was found, and the person figured out that I was a commercial director, and then they hire me for the shoot. So yes, things have come, and you guys are always trying to tell me, because maybe I'm the one that's got imposter syndrome. And I'm like, all right, so what? I have all these followers on TikTok, and I don't think I even rate it the way other people rate it. You just was saying it to me yesterday on our Zoom call, and I can't remember exactly what you said, but I was like, I wish I was recording it, because you were trying to say.
What I said was,
yes,
you have grown to 1 million followers. You have grown to 1 million followers organically. That is a skill in of itself. And even if you don't think you know what you did to get there, you know what you did to get there.
That's what you said.
And you got there.
And if I think about what I did, I remember, and this is what I said to you, which was funny. I was like, yeah, remember when I had a keyboard? Because I was so knowing that I needed to answer the comments when I would have a viral video, that I got a little keyboard to attach to my phone so I could power through the comments before I was doing. Now you can do the comments on TikTok.com if you want to. But I got a keyboard because I want a guy who's like, I have to be able to type faster to answer more comments. So to me, it was very important to be responsive to the followers who are following me to learn things. And I still love that.
And I think that's what a lot of creators now who are getting started don't put priority on, is valuing the people that are already watching you and that are already a fan. Yeah. Like people who have 1,000 followers are like, I want more followers, but they're not engaging and providing value to the 1,000 people that are already there watching.
And that's one of the things we talk about all the time in workshops.
And sometimes I get annoyed too. I mean, I get annoyed because I'm like, I have 20,000 followers and like, I'm stuck in 200 view jail, but like, I'm still thankful for all the people that do watch. And I respond to every comment too. I don't get as many as you, but I do try and respond to every single comment, because I definitely still, even if a video doesn't do as well as I want it to, I'm happy that people commented. And I feel like a lot of my loyal followers are just your followers that came to follow me because of you.
That's okay. They love you.
It's fine. It's still a follower. It doesn't matter where they came from.
It doesn't matter.
They are now interested.
And they're your fans. And I hate the word fans, but in your case, I'm going to say, because you're a comedian, that they're your fans. But I don't, I do value, I think this is a big miss from people who are thinking about follower count, is they're not realizing every follower is a person. Every single follower is a person, except for the bots.
Or a bot.
Or a bot. But when I think about, sometimes I can't think about 980,000 people. That freaks me out. But I do think about, like, the people, they're all real people, and they're in my comment section. And I don't think, oh, this person or this follower, that follower. I think this person and that person. I don't think this follower and that follower. Different.
You want to hear something crazy?
I do.
The Michigan Big House holds 110,000. You can almost fill 9 or 10 stadiums of people who follow you. And you've been to the Big House. So you know how many people out of this.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. That's a scary visual.
And like, I can't do the math, 20%.
Okay.
That's the student section. I could fill the student section.
All right. That's a lot of people. And this goes to this stays on the same point of that. every single person is sitting in a seat. They're actually a person, and they're not just. So when I'm talking to my followers, I guess you might say, I'm pretty much talking to them one at a time in my mind, because I know they're with their phone at home and they're just listening, and they're not in a group like staring at their phone watching in a stadium. So to me, I'm still talking to one person. I think that's why I've kept the same style of content, because I never really think of it like a big giant audience in a stadium. I think of it as a person that I'm helping. I don't know. I can't process it any other way. This is my imaginary friend, and I'm just talking to it. So I know it's one of the secret things I always talk about when I'm trying to explain to people how to talk to your camera and how to not be hi guys, hi everybody, hi TikTok, do that thing. So it's one of my favorite things to tell people. Please don't do that. Think of it as one person. But I truly still think of it that way. And that's when I'm making a video, I always think of it that way. And when I'm answering a comment, I'm answering that person. And a lot of times I get the messages and I'm like, oh my God, I have so many messages. I got to try and answer some of these. So I go, and I love when the person's always surprised to get an answer from me. And I want to say, like, I'm a person, you're a person. Why wouldn't I answer you? But I can't always. Sometimes it is hard to keep up. But it's kind of cute because I've realized that they're thinking of me in a different way that I'm thinking of me. They're thinking of me as like a celebrity person that's not going to have time to answer their mail, or, their fan mail. And I'm like, they asked me a question about how to do something. I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And I write them back. Like, here's how you do that. Go to this tutorial and do it this way. And then I love when I get questions that I have to solve, like a puzzle. Oh, I don't know. How am I going to teach them how to do that? There has to be a workaround. And then it gets my wheels spinning. So I read everything. I appreciate it. And I think of every single person every follower as a person, which I think is a helpful attitude to have. So if you have a smaller following in your own mind, you think 1,000 isn't a lot of people. That's 1,000 people. And every single one of them is chosen to follow you and wants to hear what you have to say and has found you and making that choice to follow, because a lot of people have to ask you to follow. And if you haven't asked for the follow and you got the follow, you did something right.
I have a thought.
Go ahead.
Okay. So yesterday you hit 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you know what I think is so interesting? That I feel like this is because of Instagram, but that 10,000 is such like a milestone in social media. Purely because, and this is what I think, that on Instagram, on TikTok, when you hit 10,000, it presents on your feed as 10K and not like 9872. But isn't that interesting?
Yes.
That is so important to people now. Just getting like the K. When it's like when you hit 1,000, you should feel like that.
Right.
When you hit 500, you should feel excited.
Right. It's
but
the
because it's the
K.
It's the abbreviation of the number that makes people real happy. And I'll admit it, I wanted to hit 10K on TikTok, and I did, and it was so fucking exciting. I'm nowhere close on Instagram. Let's talk about this for a second.
Instagram's tough, though. It's tough to grow a following.
That's what I was going to say. Why is it? I mean, we know why it's harder, but how come it's not as easy to get people from our TikTok followings to our Instagrams?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. I don't know. I've had a situation occasionally where I've been on a live and I'll say, well, I've put that on my Instagram story. So if you want to see that, and then I get a boatload of followers from that live that go over there because I mention there's things I put on my Instagram story that I don't necessarily feature on my TikTok. And that's helpful, but I don't do that enough. And I think that people on TikTok are quick to follow. It's like you see someone and it's almost like I'm never going to see that person if I don't hit the follow button. So I have to hit the follow button, especially if you like their content. You want to make sure that you can find them again. So your instinct is to follow, because then you can always know you can go into your followers list. I don't think people are that apt to hit the follow button on Instagram. I think they're way more choosy, and it's just because Instagram itself is more of a curated feed. So as a viewer, you're curating who you want to follow more carefully. And I think that might be part of it. And I've seen creators who hit strike a nerve with someone, and all of a sudden their follower goes crazy. There was some woman who's very avid student of mine who something happened. She did something with a menopause thing and she blew up. And all of a sudden she had 15,000, 30,000 followers overnight. And I was like, why? How come one of my tutorials hasn't done that for me?
I also think Instagram became a thing when you only really followed people you knew. Like it
Yeah,
came about when I was in high school. You only
it
followed
was a
people you
Facebook
knew
kind
from
of.
high school.
You're right. It was a Facebook
In
direction.
TikTok, you just follow anybody that you're interested in. There was never that like exclusivity thing. But
Right.
Instagram started as like a Facebook where it was like you only really follow people you know. And I feel like it's even taken me a while to like adjust and be like, okay, I'm gonna follow people,
Oh,
even
this
if
is
they don't follow me back.
that's
But
a very good point.
like I've just recently started following celebrities on Instagram, which I feel like is I'm late to the game on that. I follow a lot of comedians now. I follow like different comedy
Oh,
clubs, different comedy
you
shows
have
now.
just hit the nail on the head, I think.
Yeah.
But I very much so because I don't even spend as much time hitting follow on Instagram myself. So why should I get followers back in a way?
Meanwhile, on TikTok, I'm like follow, 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 follow,
Right,
follow.
right, right. The minute I see something I like, I'm like, follow quick so I don't lose this person.
But also, okay,
Oh,
here's my other hot take. Instagram started, you would only see people you knew on your feed.
mm.
Like you only saw people you
Yeah,
followed on your feed. Like that was
that's how it
the
worked. But
baseline.
yeah,
TikTok's baseline is you're only seeing people you don't follow, like
from the very
essentially.
beginning.
So it's
So
different.
yeah, you're sort of jumped into the deep end of the ocean on TikTok right away. That's a really good differentiation between the two. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, so interesting. And I think, and I've always said it's so much easier to grow on TikTok for that reason because people are more apt to just jump on it. But then a little bit for a lot of people who come into the workshops, they don't have that success of growth. So I want to just talk. This isn't supposed to be a workshop, but let's just talk about, I don't know, general strategy and growth things because you did say before what I've done is pretty amazing with like having grown a community of the size that I have over there. And I'm a little nervous to hit the 1 million because then it's going to be one number, 1M instead of
Mm-hmm.
980,000. It's the opposite. I'm like, I don't know if I want to hit a million. It's going to turn to one. Anyway, but if I think about what why do I have that following? Like, let's really, really dig for a second. Why are they following me? Why are so many people following me? So I
I feel like
circle,
we need to save this for
we
social
save
slides
it. Okay. But why though? Why do you think? Because I
because
have
we've
some
just changed our
theories.
entire strategy about
No, no,
how
no.
we're
Why do
gonna
you? I know, but I'm saying, why do you think so many people are following me?
because you're you.
Oh, I was going to say because I'm teaching them something.
No, because you're
Wow, we have
you.
very different. Wow.
I think like if you asked
Oh,
any of your followers why they follow you, they probably wouldn't say tutorials. That's the first reason.
oh my word.
And I think you could do a freaking survey for your own TikTok. You should make a video today and be like, I just need to know why you guys follow me. Like, I'm curious, like what made you hit the follow button? And your
Oh
followers would
my.
answer. If anyone else did that, that video would just flop. But you're not for you.
Wow. That's pretty. That's a pretty much of an eye opener because I was going to say strategically it's because I'm providing
No,
something
no,
that
no.
they
Let's
want to
save
see
the
over and over.
strategy for the socialized because
Thought that was a good one though.
it is a good one. But we literally just changed our whole business strategy to incorporate some of this stuff. And not that I want to
Wow.
gatekeep because we're going to give it for free, but
Of course.
you know,
Yeah, of course. I know, I know. And we do, I love that we're evolving on the business side. And it's so much of what's happening us on the business side is evolving just because of our growth and our experience on social media now. And I love it because we're always, I don't want to say pivoting, by the way, because that's not the word, because we're not really pivoting, we're not changing direction. We're just getting more focused and
mhm,
we're really honing in on what the need is. So I'm
yeah.
pumped for that. Separate episode, separate topic, but yay. All right. So we have covered a lot of things in the social media front. I love this idea that social media is now a personal currency. It's a value that is different. It's not saying that if you don't have a social media following, you have no value by any stretch. It's giving
Mm-mm.
you a value in a space, though. It's giving you a value in the digital space. And I think that's why moving forward, more and more people are going to want to have a social media following. That's just going to be the nature of it because as we know, if you have a big social media following, you're more likely to be able to publish a book, for example, because that's what
Or
they
get
want.
your rent paid when you get
Or
broken
get
up
your
with.
or get your rent paid. You can get free products. I do get some PR packages here and there, not that much, but I think that we as a society, as even though it's like we might say influencer culture is going to change, I do think value
Having an
of
influence
having an influence is going to,
be
it's not going
valuable.
away. It's not going
It's
away anytime.
priceless.
That's a commercial. All right, we covered a lot today. Thank you so much for listening. We enjoyed it. Let's peace out. Yours truly.
Helen and Julie.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a comment. We love to hear your feedback. And it's helpful if you hop into the Instagram, yourstruly.thepodcast, and you can leave a comment and you can submit some questions so we can tackle some questions on a future episode. We would love
Or leave us a review.
Leave us a review, even better. That will be fun. Our podcasts are posted on YouTube. So if you're interested in seeing what's happening besides just listening to it, we are visual on my YouTube channel. I'll put that link below as well. And you can find us on our socials, which is at The Mothership with a U and at Juli Polisi. Also in the show notes, because I'm a fan of the show notes.
We love the show notes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And thank you, Nik, for editing us. Our wonderful editor, Nik Lokensgaard, is really taking care of us and making sure that everything is smooth every week and sounds good. And we appreciate him so much. I'm going to put Nik in the show notes too.
Yeah.
All right. See you next week.